I'd like to call to order the City Commission meeting of February 17th, 2026, and ask all of you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Steinhardt.
Present.
Commissioner Elder.
Present.
Commissioner Olsman.
Present.
Commissioner Rozelle.
Present.
Mayor Paul present. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. I'll second that, Mr. Mayor. Rather than arm wrestle, I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do not believe we have any communications this evening, but we do have an elected officials with us, so your turn.
Hello, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the commission. I'm Natalie Price. I'm a state representative for House District 6, which includes all of Huntington Woods, all of Berkeley where I live. I was on Berkeley City Council before becoming a state rep. I also represent most of Royal Oak, most of Birmingham, half of Beverly Hills, little bits of Southfield and Bloomfield Township. And this is going in now to my second year representing Huntington Woods. We had redistricting, so it's my fourth year as a state representative, but only my second year representing Huntington Woods. And I stopped by around this time last year to introduce myself and connect. I generally go around at the beginning of each year to do a year in review or a year ahead, let you know about major policy issues that we're looking at. We are also kicking off appropriations season, the budget season, and I serve on the budget committees. So I like to check in with council, with commission, and let you know about the process and how it's going so far. This time, as I'm doing my tour around to the cities, and I was at Royal Oak Commission 3 weeks ago, I was at the Berkeley City Commission 2 weeks ago, I'm setting aside some of my usual year in review because there are some, because we're not in normal times, because there are some really pressing things at the forefront of many of our constituents' minds that I know that people in Berkeley, Royal Oak, Huntington Woods, and elsewhere in my community are top of mind. They're calling, they're reaching out, and they're wanting me to address. So again, normally I would give a standard update on budgets and policy, but what's happening right now in cities and neighborhoods across the country demands something a little more honest, a little more urgent from us. So I wanted to tell you about my recent trip to Minnesota. I went a few weeks ago to join other state legislators in Minneapolis to hear directly from community members and lawmakers who are being impacted by the federal occupation of their city. And what I heard was deeply alarming. I heard organizers describe how ICE operations are creating serious public safety risks, especially for children. How ICE presence made their community less safe. And they wanted us in the state Senate hearing that I went and heard people testifying how they felt less safe in the community because of ICE presence. We know that unlike our local police, unlike public safety, ICE does not coordinate with schools. On that same day that Renee Good was killed, ICE conducted a raid at a school, reportedly using force and tear gas around students and staff. I also got to talk to business owners and hear directly about how the surge in ICE activity in Minneapolis was collapsing their local economies. Small businesses were suffering as their customers were staying home out of fear. There was a supermarket, a business owner I talked to, that saw sales fall below sustainable levels, and then they had to rely on volunteers to package deliveries, to keep the door locked, while creating a food fund for struggling families. The impact was massive. The ICE operation cost Minnesota over $200 million in lost wages, housing instability, and mental health services. And it cost that local police in Minneapolis more than $3 million in overtime. The federal correspondence made clear that the economic harm was deliberate. We know, partly because of a letter from Kristi Noem to Governor Walz, that the implication that if Minnesota gave up their voting records to the Trump administration, then it wouldn't be so bad, right? The cruelty, the harm, the fear was the point. And why? Not just to get rid of immigrants, right? The states with the highest concentration of immigrants include Texas. They're not in Texas. They're coming to Minnesota, they're coming to Michigan and to Georgia because Trump claims that he won the election in 2020, and the demand is access to our voting records. So I wanted to show up in Minneapolis to show support, to stand arm in arm, and to learn so that if and when we see a similar level of occupation here in Michigan, that we and our communities are prepared. Now, at the state level, right, that's where I go. I represent our communities in Lansing. We know that our state house has been controlled by Republicans since Speaker Matt Hall took the gavel last year. Democrats, both in the state house and the state senate, have introduced bills to hold federal agents accountable. And I wanted to give you an update on some of those bills. So we've got House Joint Resolution P, which is designed to protect our Fourth Amendment rights, right? Due process. We've got House Bill 4699, which ensures transparency in corrections facilities. House Bill 4760 requires law enforcement to identify themselves. They cannot be masked unless there's an immediate health risk, and they need to identify who they are, including ICE in the state of Michigan. We have House Bills 4942 to 4944, which prevent state resources from supporting due process violations. House Bill 4796 bans armed federal activity without the governor's permission. And House Bill 4859 protects sensitive places like churches, hospitals, and courthouses. And it guards our voter data from those federal demands. So those points are really important because we are talking about protecting our democracy, talking about protecting our community members, and standing up in the face of illegal and unconstitutional federal action. We see our president continuing to lie that he won states like Minnesota and Michigan in 2020, and very clearly using ICE occupation as a weapon against his political opposition. So while the administration has begun to draw down in Minneapolis, after the widespread outrage and collective action, now there is a concern from many of our constituents that those agents are now available for deployment elsewhere, like here in Michigan. So what is going to happen here if we do not stop it? Just this morning, I was at a press conference in Southfield, joining other representatives, state senator, a member of Congress. We stood in front of a new ICE administrative office that recently opened. We know they're expanding their operation in Detroit and building out office space elsewhere. And in that budget bill that Congress Republicans passed last year, they ballooned ICE's budget by $75 billion. We know they have what feels like an unlimited budget to enforce immigration. And I want to be really clear, right? ICE is enforcement of immigration, not public safety, not showing up like our fantastic public safety and police officers who have sworn to protect our communities, who are trained in de-escalation, who are here to build relationships and protect us. ICE, when they come in, they make our communities less safe. And I also want to focus too on the kind of unfunded mandate that we're seeing, right? ICE has a very large budget, but they're not offering to share that when they're coming into our local communities and demanding that our local public safety is helping cooperate with them. Speaker Matt Hall and the Republicans are passing messaging bills, but some of them are directly impacting your budgets. You are being told that you will not qualify for certain state money unless you sign on to a letter as a city to cooperate with ICE. That is not only harmful for us to be taking away that decision of you locally of how and you will cooperate, but it is, again, just bad government. It's an unfunded mandate asking you to use resources that you don't have. You have already been underfunded by the state with poor constitutional revenue sharing for decades, and now asking and demanding that you do more that you're not trained to outside of your scope of practice that would make your communities feel less safe. So I just want to be really clear. Like my Republican colleagues, they're focused on anti-DEI, anti-LGBTQ policies, rolling back vaccine and environmental protections, and now forcing local law enforcement to coordinate with ICE. And trying to tie those basic community investments like fire trucks and water infrastructure to immigration enforcement. That's trying to coerce you into roles that you're not equipped for, that I haven't heard of any in my communities say that they want. So what am I asking you to do, right? To continue to put your community members first, to continue to support your fantastic public safety, your fire, your police, your local services, and to continue to remind your constituents that you will put their safety and well-being first. So I've co-sponsored legislation to prohibit state and local law enforcement from entering into those immigration enforcement agreements with the federal government. That's House Bill 4941. And just want to again conclude with a message that we know that ICE, it's not a public safety agency. Under this administration, unfortunately, it's become a political tool, and we need to do everything that we can in our power to make it clear that ICE is not welcome in our communities in order to help our members feel safe. And I'm happy to answer any questions from you about this or anything else.
We're good.
Thank you for your time. Grateful for you.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to public participation. You don't have to sit down, Sid.
Thank you. Sid Carden, 13307 Vernon Street. I did send some communications to you, but maybe it got here a little bit late today. But anyway, I want to start out tonight by thanking Mayor Paul for his statement regarding ICE, in which he said that the city would not enter into a 287G agreement with ICE. Thank you for that. That's a good start to pushing back against a paramilitary force that has assaulted and murdered both people of color and white people who peacefully protest in support of the people of color. Many governmental agencies and legislators are now pushing back against ICE to protect their residents and their citizens. Last week, the Legislative Committee of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners approved a resolution curtailing the county's involvement with ICE. They had support of 8 of the 9 commissioners present. There were a few Huntington Woods people there, maybe 5 or 6 people, so we were well represented. Earlier today, as Representative Price said, there was a protest outside of a private building in Southfield that has rented space to ICE. The company is Radico, a real estate firm. The first speaker was a rabbi. He spoke of pogroms, the Holocaust, and how our current political climate is a precursor to attacks on all minorities, even those who look white. His speech was followed by a pastor who spoke about the unchristian-like values of the Trump administration and ICE. State Senator Jeremy Moss, accompanied by State Senator Stephanie Chang, demanded that ICE leave Southfield. Southfield State Representative Jason Hoskins spoke, and our representative, Natalie Price, was there as well. The actions of ICE are so egregious that public officials with large differences of opinion on the war in the Middle East are united in their demands to abolish, not just limit, but abolish ICE. University of Michigan Regent and Huntington Woods resident Jordan Acker, a strong supporter of Israel, stood next to and introduced Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, a strong supporter of Palestine. They were both united in their resistance to ICE. ICE attacks and mutilates bodies, often destroying them entirely. It is one arm of Trump's fascism. The other arm is the FBI stealing ballots and election materials in Fulton County, Georgia, based upon the big lie of 2020. The ultimate goal of that twin attack is to ensure the continuation of the Trump presidency beyond constitutional limits. Black people, brown people, white people, supporters of Israel, supporters of Palestine, all oppose ICE. We need to do more. Mayor Paul has stated that we won't get into a 287G contract with the federal government, but we need to resolve to not support Trump's masked thugs in any manner. Our city needs to take a stand against dictatorship and for democracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lori Lisi, 13110 Hart. I've been set up nicely by the two speakers before me. I'm here again tonight to ask the city to enact policies or ordinances respecting interactions with federal immigration authorities. I appreciate the time the city manager and individual commissioners have spent with me and other residents. Nonetheless, despite repeated assurances that the November 17th traffic stop was handled appropriately, I have now seen the FOIA'd information, and I am not convinced. Until commissioners have reviewed the body cam footage, the dash cam footage, and listened to the dispatch audio, those assurances are being made without access to all the facts. While this stop may seem an isolated incident and water under the bridge at this point, I don't think it will be the last time that public safety will have to decide whether to call CBP or ICE, or whether to hand people over to those agencies. People have said ICE has just leased office space in Southfield to house administrative staff to guide and support their field operations. And they have purchased a warehouse in Romulus near the airport with the intention of turning it into a detention center. From these actions, together with the reassignment of agents from Minneapolis to other cities, it is logical to infer that ICE's presence here will increase. Data from an ICE Rapid Response Group in Southwest Detroit indicates that it is already happening. From January to February of this year, this group reported that detentions in Detroit went from 10 a day to 20 a day. Many cities in Oakland County and even our county commission are being asked by residents to consider what limits can be placed on interactions with federal immigration. Some cities have already addressed the issue with a laudable degree of openness and detail. The mayor's recent statement, which I'm glad we made a statement, does not have any specific details about how the city will interact with federal immigration authorities. I would like to give you just two examples of how sister cities have come out with statements that do contain details. The Livonia Police recently put out a public statement. They said that they had reviewed their current immigration-related policies, working with other law enforcement agencies and legal counsel, and they had determined that those policies needed revision. They're revising them, they say, to protect the public and provide clear, lawful guidance to their officers. While they're revising their policies, Livonia Police say that officers will not contact federal immigration authorities during calls for service, traffic stops, or other routine police activity unless a valid warrant or court order exists and is signed by a judge who has jurisdiction in Livonia. Oak Park's statement talks of public versus private spaces, instructs staff that federal immigration officials cannot enter private spaces without a judicial warrant, and they distinguish that from an administrative warrant. And they call for educating staff on the difference between the two kinds of warrants. And they require that the city attorney review any warrant that is presented. While these statements may not address everything that I would like to see covered, they indicate a willingness to make changes in light of current events and provide concrete and specific directions to city staff. While there aren't a lot of people here tonight, there are many more residents concerned about this issue. I think if the FOIA documents were shared more widely, there would be even more residents concerned. I would love, love, love to have the opportunity, possibly some kind of special meeting where residents could discuss concerns and remedies with commissioners and the city manager, and there could be back and forth. I would ask that the city provide such a forum. And before I sit down, I do want to acknowledge that I have heard that the city's going to be purchasing body cameras with translation services, and if that's true, I want to thank you guys. From the FOIA information that I saw, the language issue was a huge part of what I think was a failure by the officers. They were frustrated, and that level of frustration, I would even say, led to scorn and derision of the fact that people could not speak English very well. So the body cameras with translation will be will be one answer to the things that I think were not done well in that stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, public participation is closed, and we're going to move on to our regular items of business. The first item is a matter of holding a public hearing for the proposed reprogramming of CDBG funds from fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025. You want to explain a little bit?
Yes, of course. So originally, when we had received the funding for plan year 2024-25, it was focused towards remove architectural barriers. And we had originally kind of intentioned that for pieces of working on the traffic signal. Unfortunately, the vendor, they didn't use the prevailing wage. And also, I think they had already had the bid, everything was already solidified. So when we got the grant funding, it was kind of a little bit late in the game. So unfortunately, we weren't able to use that project for remove architectural barriers. So now, as well as kind of what we have just done for plan year 2026, we are kind of moving towards, a lot of our funding for minor home repair, which is directly funding and helping the community with, whether that be, if there's something where, somebody is under the income limit and there's something at their home, whether that be like roof repair, porch, this, that, or the other. But it's directly impacting the community. It's very easy for us to be able, like, when code enforcement goes out and recognizes something that's going on in somebody's residence, if they meet the requirements, we can easily be able to allocate those funds towards the residents. So that's what we're requesting to do for this. And then we've also kind of been working with Parks and Rec on various different remove architectural barrier enhancements in the future, but it's kind of wrapping around their whole Parks and Rec master plan as well.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so are there any comments from the public regarding this proposed reprogramming? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item number 2, which is a matter of considering authorizing the reprogramming of the CDBG funds for fiscal year 2024 and 25. It is $4,774 in 2024 and $3,500 from year 2025. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Any public comment? Comments from the commission? Can the funds be used for a handicap ramp? If,
Well, so
someone meets the
remove
other
architectural
qualifications?
barriers that's really what that would have been able to use,
Okay.
be used for. Minor home repair is a little bit different.
Okay.
So it's really kind of case-by-case basis, like, when code enforcement might come out to a different residence based on, people calling or what have you, that, something is going wrong at that home. But again, as I mentioned, we're working with Melissa and Parks and Rec for kind of future enhancements to really hone in on putting all of that together with the Parks and Rec master plan, as well as making all of those facilities accessible
Okay.
and ADA compliant.
Hi, Catherine Toft, 12750 Vernon. I'm saying that because I heard them say it. It's my first meeting. I have no idea how this works, but you asked for public comment. Am I supposed to come here or sit in my seat?
Nope, this is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Raise your hand. So a total of under $8,000, it sounds like? You mentioned a roof. I'm just curious, one roof is more than that. Who determines the funds are distributed?
Completely understand. Yes, and as we know, yes, one roof probably is about $10,000. So it's really, everybody would have to, there's a whole process of how you would be able to comply with all the requirements required on CDBG. There's income limits and various other things, as well as, if, code enforcement comes out to the, also age limits too. If you're over the age of 65, it also includes those types of requirements.
So there are parameters?
Yes, there are parameters, definitely.
And can I just add, it may
Please.
not cover the whole house, like if a
Yes.
roof is 15,000 and we only have 8,000, we're contributing to, but maybe not covering all of it, so.
And then there are also, the county has additional applications that we can provide our residents so that they can possibly cover the additional expenses. But this would be our portion that we can supply.
Any comments from the commission? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is a matter of authorizing the mid-year budget amendments. Back to you, Amy.
Thank you. So within the agenda packet that we provided, and also the memo that I supplied, there's some supporting information about the fund and account level adjustments required for this budget amendment. Obviously, we're typically do these at least every quarter, if not more often, in accordance with the Uniform Accounting and Budgeting Act, to ensure that our budget is balanced by the end of the year. After reviewing activity through January 31st and the original budget that was presented to council and approved, I provided the second quarter budget amendment. Most of the changes are routine and relatively small, but reflecting normal cost increases or decreases that have been identified throughout the activity of this year. And then also, there was, I think the main part of it was a lot of the capital projects and the timing of when those were completed, and a lot of those crossing the fiscal year. Typically, how I've seen things happen is, after you go through your year-end and then your audit, shortly thereafter, you have a carryover budget amendment, especially and it's mainly for the capital projects. So instead of letting the funding that, wasn't utilized, even though you're still carrying on those capital projects to the next fiscal year, you have a carryover budget amendment, so that all of that, after your final budget is approved, then you have the carryover capital project budget amendments. So moving forward, that's kind of the process that we're going to focus on and make sure that it is happening, because I think most of these are really reflective of those. There was, a couple items outside of that, which would be there was some additional project costs for our 11-mile traffic signal that were outside of the original bid amount, and that was based on some of the county requirements that happened after the bid. So it was, I think, approximately $143,000. And so that was part of some of these adjustments that ended up in the major street fund allocations. But most of them, really, I was just trying to kind of balance out where we're at with various increases or decreases within different line items to make sure that we're, kind of leveling everything out. And then, again, with the Major Street, and then there was in the water fund, which again, that's not, a fund that we need to budget, but it's always good to budget. But there was a project within there that, that one was, sorry, the pipelining in Newport Boulevard reconstruction project where that just extended over the fiscal years. And so that was what created the requirement for that budget amendment there. So I'm recommending that we approve the second quarter budget amendment, and then again, I'll probably have another one fairly shortly too, just to, as I'm kind of cleaning up things and looking through a lot of the funds and accounts. Because I know I've been working heavily with a lot of the departments and really getting them to get closer to their budget, and what they have and what's been provided to them, to make sure that all of us are aligned.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded.
Any public comment? Seeing none. Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4 is considering approval to authorize the city manager to sign and submit the required license application to the Bureau of Fire Services for the fireworks to be held on July 4th, 2026. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is a matter of considering approval of the Oakland County P25 simulcast system interlocal agreement between Oakland County and the city of Huntington Woods. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Any public comment? Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, first thing I did, I talked to Andrew today to make sure this wasn't 110% price increase like the assessing contract that they stuck on us. The other item of concern in this interlocal agreement that we discussed is the fact that there is a cost section in the agreement, and it references how we'll be billed and these responsibilities it will have, et cetera, and when that billing will occur and when payments due, and all of that indicates that it's outlined in the system policy section of the interlocal agreement. Except if you read the document cover to cover, that section actually doesn't exist. So they talk about how they're going to bill us under a section of this contract that doesn't exist. So I don't know who wrote this, but Andrew fortunately was able to talk with our contact on the committee, who said other communities had reached out scratching their head, saying the exact same thing. And the bottom line is, we already have the radios in our possession. We've already paid for it. I don't think there is really any anticipated cost unless we're looking to replace these radios. But I mean, I don't know who wrote this, but this is really kind of outrageous to have a whole billing scheme in here referencing a section of an agreement that doesn't exist. So I just wanted to point that out. And it's not 110% price increase like the assessing contract. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those,
It'll never get old, by the way.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6 is a matter of considering adopting an ordinance to amend the city code, Chapter 38, Utilities, relating to providing testing of backflow assemblies. This will be the first reading of this ordinance. We have a motion to approve.
I'll move the first reading, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Any public comment? Questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I'll say is that I think this is very critical, especially with lawn irrigation systems and whatnot. I mean, this only doesn't affect the potential drinking water of the household, it really can potentially affect the drinking water of the entire community and the entire system. So I know that our Water Resource Commissioner is really big on this. I know there's been changes to state law. And so I think, having this ordinance locally is important. We want to make sure that we all aren't having pesticides or whatever backflow into our drinking water. So I'm glad to see that we're moving this forward.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving right along to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, in March, I'm very proud to go with Lieutenant Ben Zawacki to Arizona for our 7th accreditation through CLIA, which is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement. Out of the 573 agencies in the state of Michigan, there's only 13 of us that are nationally accredited, which means we follow all the best practices in the country. There is now a state accreditation, and out of the 573 agencies, there's 88 state accredited agencies. So that's something to be proud of. I'm looking forward to that review with Ben Zawacki. Also, I posted on our website, on the public safety website, the annual report for review. I highly recommend residents look at that report, open it up. It has a lot of very important information on there. Starts with our mission statement and summary, obviously, serve and protect in a very professional and unbiased way, like we've always had in the city. Some of the, and in summary though, I'd like to just bring up a couple issues that we had. The medical runs from 2024 was 238, 2025 was 282. So we did have an increase in medical runs. Fire runs, however, in 2024, we went from 172 to 170. Actual fires were 10. That includes kitchen fires, car fires, can be smaller fires, not true working house fires. But we did have 10 fires last year. Also, as far as cases to the Detective Bureau, there were approximately 9 cases assigned to the detective. 88 of those cases are closed. The thing I wanted to bring up about this report, where normally I don't talk about, I just indicate that it's posted for people to see, is our index crimes, which is the more severe crimes, went up 5% this year. Our larcenies in 2024 were 20. Larcenies this year were 26. But the issue that we had this year, which increased our crime rates, 5% increase, were the car thefts. Actually, in 2024, we only had 1 car stolen from the city. This year, we had 12. All 12 of those cars that were stolen from the homes were unlocked and had key fobs in them, every single car. One of those cars was used in Detroit in a shooting that resulted in a murder. I highly recommend that people do not leave valuables in the car, lock your cars, and do not leave your key fob in the car. Non-index crimes, which is the drunk driving, less severe crimes, actually also went up. We had from 26 and 24 to 39. In regards to the issue with ICE that everybody keeps focusing on, and I understand the reasons why for that, but you have to understand that the law enforcement obviously falls under the executive branch. It means we enforce the laws. We don't make the laws. Congress makes the laws. And at the state level, obviously the representatives and the senators make the laws. Federal law supersedes state law. If they come in here, if ICE comes in here, our job is to keep our residents safe. That would be to allow them to protest peacefully on the sidewalk while ICE or any other federal agency that comes in here, let them do their job and get out of here. They can arrest our law enforcement officers just as easy as a citizen if we interfere with them to do their job. We cannot interfere with ICE or any other federal agency. As a small department, we work with FBI for bank robberies. We work with Secret Service for fraudulent bills. We work with ATF, DEA, all the agencies. We work very well together. We don't agree with what's going on with their personnel on ICE. We also work with the Border Patrol I'm not going to go over this case on 11 Mile. They were used to help us identify somebody who gave us false information. We had a legal right to stop them. We had a legal right to arrest them under our own charges. They helped us because we were giving fraudulent information, aliases, and we were using the Border Patrol to do that. And when they came out, they made a decision who they were going to arrest. We do not determine who they arrest when they show up at a scene. We did everything that was supposed to be done at that incident, and we'll continue to do that. But our goal is to keep our residents safe, keep them out of harm's way from ICE or any other federal agency that comes in here. And that's our job in law enforcement.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commission for the city manager? Okay. Commissioner comments, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have two comments. First, I want to say that I appreciate the fact that our Public Safety Department publishes such a comprehensive annual report, and I would love to see annual reports from the library, from Parks and Rec, also demonstrating the important work that other departments do and give us a sense of what, how they're contributing to the community and the funding that is put towards those departments. So I hope we'll be able to see those in the future. And then I also wanted to express my appreciation for the Berkeley School District for taking on latchkey services at Burton Elementary School. That change is coming in the fall, and they went and wonderfully, so happy that they made Burton a community school and that our school is open to people from outside of Huntington Woods. And so I think that they finally acknowledged the equity issues that they had created by not having latchkey available at Burton. So I'm really appreciative of the work that our city administration did to coordinate that with the school district. The fact that we're going to be able to retain some of the staff that had worked on those programs within Parks and Rec, who have been very, respected and appreciated for the work that they do with the children in the community. So just wanted to thank the administration and thank the school district for taking over childcare services at Burton.
Commissioner Rozell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to thank Representative Price. I had reached out to her after I caught wind that there was a meeting of local chiefs of police and the county sheriffs of Macomb and Oakland County regarding the state police essential refusal to patrol the interstate and asking us not to transfer 911 calls from our call center to Metro North, and they wanted us to begin patrolling the interstate. That is completely unacceptable to me. Their reasoning was that they were short-staffed and that communities that provide no law enforcement, primarily 3 townships in northwest Oakland County and 3 townships in northwest Macomb County, that they were stuck providing them with free law enforcement services from the state police. So Representative Price and I spoke. She put me in touch with Representative McFall, who's working on a bill, because as you can imagine, those of us in Huntington Woods that don't mind paying taxes to actually have services should not have to subsidize these northern townships that don't want to pay taxes and don't want to pay services so they can get state police patrol for free while we pick up the slack on the interstate. I think that's totally unacceptable, and it's totally using our tax money to subsidize law enforcement in these northern townships. So a bill is being introduced that would allow us to bill the state police for any call that we respond to on a state interstate. And also they're looking at potentially allowing the state police to bill these northern communities who don't want to pay for law enforcement for having law enforcement provided to those communities. So we're working on it. I appreciate her assistance in that. Certainly Hazel Park was a little more fired up than we were, considering they just lost a majority or a large portion of their tax base for the expansion of I-75, and then are being asked to take officers like we are outside of our community and put them on the interstate. That's a no. That's a no. And so those calls will continue to be transferred to Metro North, whether they like it or not. And I appreciate both representatives working collaboratively on that issue. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Olsman?
No comments.
No comments, thank you.
And no comments for me. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for attending.
Hey, Joe, is there,
Okay, how are you doing?
there's money if we want to upgrade our
It's been crazy.
on the Dropbox.
Very, very busy.
There's money if we want to.